Here we are, boys, the Hero, Highlight and Hardship podcast, the 3 H's, and we've got Adam Mad Dog MacDougall joining us, obviously from a very successful Knights side, but also playing for New South Wales and Australia. Mad Dog, welcome to the podcast.
It's great to be here, Gus. How are you, mate?
Mate, we are very, very well. You played 195 games in your professional career, 92 tries, played for the Roosters, the Knights, the Rabbitohs, back to the Knights again. 11 times for the Blues, 11 games for Australia, including that 2000 World Cup. And, of course, you won a couple of comps with the Knights. Can you talk us through your hero, whether that was on the field or off the field? Who's that one person that you can sort of say was your hero through your life?
Well, for me, it started with my dad. My dad was a footballer himself. He played in the famous 1963 grand final in the mud at the Premiership. Has been immortalised around. He actually scored a try in that grand final and subsequently played in 3 other grand finals, played for his state and, got picked to play for Australia. So, growing up as a kid, I was a very privileged child in the sense that my dad would drag me along to the footy with him and I'd be sitting in the bar at the SCG and I'd be, kicking around a football with the likes of Johnny Raper or Graham Langlands or Bob Foote or, some of the greats of the game because I'm mates with my old man, not knowing at the time the guys kicking the footy to me and passing the footy were immortals. But, I just wanted to be, just like my dad. And, I remember running out into the SCG and wanting to touch, some of the players like Wally Lewis. After a game, I ran out and got to touch the King. And, they were great days. You'd rush out and try and get the corner post and you'd end up getting, pushed over by a big kid and, clipped around the head because, you tried to get it before him. But, they were good old days when, the Winfield Cup was, Tina Turner and whatnot. But, growing up, my dad was somebody I aspired to be. But then when I got into professional rugby league, I really sort of found a new role model in the sense of somebody that inspired me at the back end of my career, and that was Kurt Gidley. And I got to play with some of the greats in the game, and not embarrassing him there, but Wendell Sailor is arguably, in my eyes, the greatest outside back. He changed the way that the game was played, and he was a dual international. And a lot of people say that we like to hate each other, but there was nothing but respect and gratitude for me in the sense that he made me the player I was because I wanted to be as good as him. So, but for me, the guy that really pushed me at the back end of my career was a guy, Kurt Gidley. He, I got to play with Matt, who was a superstar, and, Dell got to play outside Matt in the World Cup when he won the Player of the Series. And, Matthew was a very talented player, but Kurt, not so. And he was a guy that had to earn everything that he got. But the one thing he had that no one else had was an attitude that, he wouldn't give up. And every time he turned up to training, the gratitude, the excitement, just to be there and just to be part of it, he just left no stone unturned. And it just inspired me to sort of, after football, just to apply myself in the same way, everything I did, with that same zest and that same excitement and just gratitude that, it was just an infectious sort of attitude the guy had. And, he had no right to sort of be anything but a reserve grader. And he went on to captain New South Wales, play for Australia, an outstanding career. And it's no disrespect, but he just physically wasn't big, wasn't strong, didn't have the skills of his brother, but just had a willingness and an ability to find something within himself, which I found very inspiring.
There's one thing I'd say about Newcastle. When you guys trained, it was so hard to play up in Newcastle, but you guys, mate, other than the community, you set a really good standard in the training arena. What was that because of the culture of the mining and the working class area there?
Yeah, I think, there's a responsibility, as you know, when you come from a one-town team that, it's something that, you're not given. It's something you have to earn the right to wear that jersey. And that was something that the Knights are very big on was, being the player that other players want to play with. And that come down to, just working hard, giving 100%, not taking shortcuts. And, the best players were the best trainers by no mistake. Whilst Andrew Johns was the best partier, he was also the best trainer. I used to live next to Merriweather Stairs, which is a very famous landmark in Newcastle. And oftentimes I'd take my dog out for a walk at 10 o'clock at night and I'd catch Joey closet training, running up them stairs in the middle of the night. He'd be the first to training. He'd be the last to leave. He'd be there practicing long before and long after everyone else. And he just instilled a work ethic that if you want to be a great player, you have to earn the right to be that great player. So that was something that, was really etched into the psyche of a lot of players. And, nothing in life comes easy, as you know, Del. And, you certainly learn that the hard way when you grow up in Newcastle. It's a working class town. And people go underground, for kilometres, dig black coal out of the ground, work bloody hard to put food on the table. And, when you're given the opportunity to go out there and play a sport, a game at the end of the day and get paid a lot of money, if you don't have a dig and you don't sacrifice something, you're a bit of a privileged brat in the opinion of people up here.
Mad Dog, you mentioned your dad was, your hero early on and that sort of thing. I mean, can you remember, I guess, that moment telling him that you're about to debut for your first grade game?
Yeah, look, it was a great moment, and my dad was a really interesting character in the sense that he was very successful at work, and then come home one day and decided that he wasn't going to work anymore, which was a shock to the family, and was going to spend his time with us because he was spending more time at work than with us, and he decided that the important things in life were family. And at that stage, I didn't really appreciate it, because I was going on 11 years of age, and all my mates had really cool Nike shoes and Reeboks, and I had this crappy pair of, K26s. And I was a bit filthy at my old man, actually. I was really disappointed he wasn't going out to earn some money and get me a good pair of shoes. But now that I look back, what he gave me was his time and his attention. And, he really, really just gave me the world. So, I was never pushed by my dad. Ironically, I remember playing my first rep footy game, and I came off, and I probably didn't have a real big go because the kids were bigger than me, and I was playing up a year. And my dad was nowhere to be seen when I walked off the field. And he was over at the bar having a schooner, and I said, how did I go? And he looked at me and he said, mate, you know how you went. He said, I just asked one thing of your son. He said, I don't care if you play footy or not, but he goes, if you're going to play footy, have a go. He said, don't waste my time. He said, I'll give you every single cent I've got. Money, I can make money, but I can't make up time. So if you're going to do something in life, mate, give it a crack or don't do it. Yeah. So from that day forward, I went out there and I gave it everything I had. And, if it wasn't for his wisdom and insights, it would never have been the same. And, the greatest moment of my life, without sounding too sort of sentimental, was being able to afford to buy my mum and dad a house off my first contract. And, that's the big thing in sport. You guys know that it allows you to create fairy tales for yourself, and it allows you to rewrite your own destiny. And it gave me a way to help the people around me. And I'll be forever grateful for the opportunity football's given me.
Well, good on you, mate. Well, that's obviously a massive highlight to be able to do something like that. That's fantasy stuff for most of us.
Yeah, for sure.
Fantastic. What about a highlight outside of obviously that one in terms of footy or on the field or off the field? What's your highlight in your career?
I'd have to be the 97 grand final. Everyone remembers their first kiss, and the first grand final was certainly the best. 97 was a surreal experience. Obviously travelling down on the bus to the game with the M3 highway just lined with hundreds of people cheering us on, and then coming back and partying with Silverchair. And at the time these 15 or 16. So Andrew John's got a lot of answer for them poor kids. But, and then the Screaming Jets and the town hall reception. Wow. It was a surreal experience, Gus, to be honest with you. And no one expected us to win, and it was an amazing sort of fairy tale in itself. And I'll never forget that. And the party went for a month, and I'm not a big drinker, but certainly I didn't have to buy anything in Newcastle for about 2 or 3 years after that. It was pretty
good on you.
Have you seen the same sort of build up around the city of Newcastle with the way the current team's been performing? That momentum that comes?
Yeah, like the shops now have got red and blue balloons, and the pastries are back out. The bread's blue and red again, and it's great to see people walking down the streets in their Knights jerseys again. And it's just there's a real excitement. My kids are too young to understand. They don't even know I play footy, but they're 6 years of age and 7, and they're even talking about, they're coming home now and talking about the Knights, which is great. And there's real buzz around. I laugh. They don't even know I play. It's quite funny. It's fantastic. It's a really great place to be at the moment. And it's really exciting. And once again, rugby league's such a great game. It does so much for so many people, and it's great to see that the Knights are back on the winning list.
Yeah, Dukes, mate, you've done a lot of in and around the game, some great things. But, mate, what's been your hardship through rugby league?
Look, mate, the injury was obviously, my Achilles heel, as a lot of people say, that their biggest criticism of myself was, I missed a lot of footy. But at the same time, whilst, doing my ACL was a huge, devastating blow at that stage. You'd just gone over to rugby union, and I was playing for Australia with you, and we just won a World Cup and an Origin series, and I was going quite well at that stage, and really just starting to come into my own as a player. And doing my ACL at that age of 24, I probably hadn't really reached my potential. So part of me still to this day wonders just what level I could have got to before I got injured, because after I did my knee, I was out for 18 months. The surgeons told me not to play again and never to run it. I wouldn't play again. And then, ironically, I come back the next year and got picked for Australia. And on the eve of playing for Australia, I ruptured my Achilles tendon on the other leg. And was out for another 18 months and told to go and retire. So I think them 2 injuries in that short period of time really took the wind out of my sails and sort of left me with that question, always wondering, what could I have done? I wanted to go to rugby union and join you and see what I could do in that code as well. But look, a lot of unanswered questions, Del. But in saying that, I'm just grateful for the fact that, I got to play at the level I did before I got a serious injury. And, whilst every morning I wake up, mate, and I still grab that knee because it bloody hurts. We all have something to complain about as we get older, thanks to rugby. My biggest regret is the fact that I got injured. But at the same time, also the thing I'm most proud of is the fact that I had 2 surgeons telling me to hang the boots up after both of them injuries. And I managed to fight back, get back on the field, maybe not as the same player, but I certainly got back on the field and had a bit of a crack and hung around for a few more years, maybe a few more too many than I probably should have. But certainly, got out there and got to, do what I love the most, which is play football.
Mad Dog, does that sort of show a lot to your resilience as a person? That sort of ability to fight back and get back to the top level anyway?
I think for all of us out there, I think, the thing that I'm trying to instill in my kids is that life isn't easy and, life is tough. And the reality is, I think what makes people great is hardship. The best things that have occurred in my life have been the result off the back of the worst things. It's really ironic. Everything I look back at, whether it's been business or whether it's been football, or just life in general, if I didn't have them hardships, I would never have met my wife. I would never have met the people I met to go into business. I would never have done the things I've done. If I didn't do my ACL, I wouldn't have ended up at South and met some people that helped me in business. So I wouldn't have made the business I've made now if I didn't go to South. So, everything happens for a reason. I know it's very cliche, but I mean, if you're looking for the positives in life, you're always going to find, something that, you can do rather than being focused on the problem. If you focus on the solution in life, I think you're ahead of most people. And I think that's one thing that I try to encourage young kids is the fact that, unfortunately, life is tough and people are going to die. People are going to get sick. Things aren't always going to go your way. But you can choose, the way you respond to that. You can either give up and lay down, or you can get up and fight again and hopefully live another day. And that's, that's the attitude I try to take every single day.
Oh, Mad Dog, it's great to hear from you, mate, and obviously love all that you've been doing on and off the field, and what you've been doing lately as well, and how generous you are to make sure you look after so many other charities out there with all the success you've had with the Man Shake and the Lady Shake and everything else that's going on, mate. So congratulations, and thanks so much for joining us on the Hero, Highlight and Hardship podcast. We really appreciate your time.
I really appreciate your time, and I'm just very grateful that you've allowed me to come on and, considered me to be someone that's interesting enough to speak to.
Oh,
so thank
absolutely.
Good on you, mate.
Awesome,
always enjoyed the rivalry with you, mate. Always good. Good man.
Mate, I love you, Del. You know that, mate. So.
Makes 2 of us, mate, so thanks.
Yeah, he loves him too. See you later, Mad Dog.
Thanks,
Cheers,
mate.
Mad Dog.
Appreciate your time.
Good on you, mate.
You too, mate.